Faces is live, y'all. Welcome to the Depato Show. How you doing, Simon?
I'm doing awesome, and welcome to the Depato Show. Melissa, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I'm
fantastic for a Wednesday?
Yes. I'm fantastic for a Wednesday.
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's a win.
I'm super duper excited because today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Man. I know those of you that are on Twitter or part of the XRP community might be familiar with Mr. Man. He's got a dynamic personality within the XRP community. And just to give a little background of him, he's a professional overseer, Simon, of technical records and audits. Well, he's retired now, but he worked in the charter air paramedic industry. And that is something that has contributed to his profound understanding of the compliance and the need to adhere to regulatory standards. And also, if you didn't know this, he also dons the label of a habitual dot connector in the financial sector. Anybody that has followed Mr. Man on Twitter or on YouTube, you notice that he's making connections all over the place.
That's absolute facts right there. Habitual, yes, absolutely.
Habitual dot connector. I love it. He's also a seasoned real estate expert, which is something that he's on a mission to scale to new heights with that and bring his wealth of knowledge to elevate that industry as well. And so there's a lot of exciting new things coming in terms of the real estate industry and the digital asset space and tokenizing assets and all these things. So, and what I did want to say is one thing that sets Mr. Man apart is not just his professional acumen, but also he's known for his distinctive style, and he presents himself, as you will see in a moment, for those of you that are watching on Facebook or YouTube, he presents himself as a grown-ass man in a Spider-Man mask.
Yeah. Amen.
Amen. So he's got a blend of playfulness and maturity, I will say. And then his mantra is, "I'm rich, not wealthy." And so I think this is going to be one heck of a talk. He's created this roadmap of where he sees, based on his research, where he sees the adoption going and things unfolding. And so super, super excited to have him. Shall we bring him in?
Bring him in. Come on, let's go.
Let's bring Mr. Man in. Mr. Man.
Mr. Man. Welcome to the show.
What is up, everybody? I am Mr. Man, and welcome to the Depato Show.
We love you.
Right on. Thank you
that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So, Mr. Man, you know, I've been stalking you over the interwebs, you know, and I do gotta say you're absolutely fire. And you're very refreshing, man. You're very, very refreshing. You know, there's a lot of not to just say one community. What I mean, crypto community is better than the other, but it just seems like the XRP community overall are good researchers, and my friend, you dig deep and you make these awesome connections, like small nuggets, small little pieces of nuggets, and you connect it to something else. Even in your most recent video, but your future map, the future of adoption, how it's going to play out. That shows me how beautiful your mind is and how much you pay attention to detail. I just want to say thank you for all that, because it really helps fill in these gaps. As in, the gap I'm speaking of specifically is we hear the talking heads say we need regulation, right? Then you have people like myself, everyday people, like, oh, no regulation. Every time they throw out the R word, it's like, it's bad for us, right? It's bad for us.
Mhm.
But you're showing us that this has to do this. The regulation is a must for this international businesses and connections and systems to take place. Could you kind of ad lib on the importance of this I guess regulation, litigation, etc., and why it's so important, and kind of break down these I can't remember the word you used last time on Beyond the Brink, but the governing bodies, right? The importance of these governing bodies and how they do it. Could you explain a little bit about that to the crowd, because you do it very, very well.
Thanks. I'll hopefully I'll do some justice on this show. But
Oh, I know you
yeah,
will.
we do need regulations. Without it, people will still assume to believe that XRP is a security. However, if it was a security, it would be connected to Ripple. So whatever Ripple does, a lot of people out there still believe that whatever Ripple does, they're expecting a price appreciation from XRP. But they're two separate
Right.
entities. There's Ripple, then there's XRP. And then in that ecosystem itself, you have the actual digital asset of the XRPL, and the XRP just resides on the XRPL itself. So in actuality, the XRPL is the asset which just bears XRP, which does the swaps, remittances, and what have you. And in terms of regulation now, without these court cases and regulations, we'd have no idea what XRP is. I mean, we would know. I mean, we have
Right.
our understandings on it, but if there's no clarity on it, nobody will have a direct definition on what it is. So people will still presume to believe that XRP is a security. In fact, it's not a security. And that, as it stands right now, that is the only title or claim to fame in terms of clearance that XRP has, is that it's not a security. When it's sold
Right.
to retail investors, it's not a security. When it's sold to institutional investors, it's still considered or dubbed a security at that point. So they technically can create a wrapper on it and create an ETF at that point. People, I've been asked if XRP is put into an ETF, will that make it a security? Technically, that'll make the derivative XRP a security, but not the underlying asset a security itself. So to further your question there with regards to the governing bodies or the regulating bodies, they're known as the ISSB, the International Standard Settings Bodies. And who they
Yes.
are different individuals from, say, DSB Bank, DZ Bank, Bundesbank, Banque de France, from FSB, the Financial Stability Board, from IOSCO, from different uh, companies or different enterprise
Different
companies, if you
bodies.
will,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Different
come together.
institutions, different bodies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they amalgamate and make another conglomerate, if you will, entity or governing body, which oversees. That's what these government entities love to do. They love to make new three-letter agencies that can govern something else. But while this is happening, you're going to see destruction, and that's in the sense of destruction of other governing bodies as well. We can see almost the demise of the SEC happening. This is just, I'm just ad-libbing here, that you can
Yeah.
almost see the demise of the SEC. I'm not going to say it is going to happen, but you can see it happening. They're losing court cases. They're being called out. Brad Garlinghouse he's talking bad about these people, like openly in
Yeah.
conferences now. So like the words,
Mr. Man, I wanna say, you bring up something
Yeah.
when it comes to the SEC and Ripple, and don't you think that I mean, they've provided very much needed clarity for the entire crypto space, considering where we know we're going to. Those of us that are looking into this and giving this attention, the average person might not really recognize the significance of that case. But they're fighting the good fight, right? And they had
Mhm.
enough money to actually defend themselves, whereas some of these smaller companies, these smaller startups, and if you look back in history, they tend to get bullied out of the market or out of the innovation because the big money um, they're able to monopolize like that, right? Because
Mhm.
if you can bring the SEC against people and threaten them with lawsuits and have them so much money. I can't remember how much Ripple spent to defend themselves, but my point is they
100
did.
million.
They stood up. They stood up to them, and uh, and we got that clarity. And what would have happened had they not fought back? So, I mean, that's an excellent point that you brought up.
Yeah, I don't know where they'd be right now had they not fought that fight. They'd probably just fall along the wayside too, like the other companies. However, I internally believe, I believe that Ripple is totally complicit in all of this too. You know, like I like the company, I like what they're doing, I like the direction they're going. I have no say in what happens in the end and during the process. I'm just a viewer who's trying to connect the dots to these things. But Ripple is clearly complicit in everything taking place. I mean, David Schwartz comes from the NSA, Brad Garlinghouse in the WEF. You have Rosie Rios from the Treasury. You have like all these people came from different places, and
They're
they've
everywhere.
moved into Ripple to do what they need to do within that company, like Marcus Treacher, like Evan Schwartz, like Stefan Thomas. They all have their role. When they're done doing whatever they need to do, they can go work for some other company because they know they're going to connect
Mhm.
to this eventually. You know, they're not
Yeah.
leaving the company to say screw you guys. They left on great terms. They still have, you know, they've left their imprints on that company so they can utilize that software and tech later on when it's time to
Hmm.
utilize it.
The
Valid.
fact
Valid.
the,
That's
the fact that it cuts out the middleman, the intermediary,
Hmm.
um, and like you're saying, all of these big players that they've kind of moved around jobs within government and or regulatory bodies of sorts. Um, when you look at like what's going to ultimately happen, I mean, we know everything's going to change with the in the way that we handle payments and banking and all of those things. Um, what do you think? You said they're playing along, which they are, but I'm almost wondering. I mean, there is some kind of freedoms in I guess it from having one bank being centralized, having so much control over
Hmm.
our monetary system. So
Hmm.
in one aspect, there it's going this different direction than just the ultimate banker's coin type thing. Like what's your perspective on that? I don't think I asked a very clear question there, and I apologize.
Yeah, no, I do think like Ripple is clearly like Ripple and their technology is clearly being set up to skirt around Swift and what Swift offers. Swift is the U.S. clearing, if you will, for cross-border payments, and that's all they do. That's what they do, and they move messages, not value, just messages. Whereas you have Ripple, an international body, governing body itself, with a new term I've just learned and they offer a global layer one. Singapore, I actually tweeted about this today.
yes, you
Singapore has
did.
partnered with Ripple, and they are operating now what's known as a global layer one. Clearly, XRP is a global layer one with all these global players that they have within their ecosystem. Then on top of that global layer one, within the little silo they made, RippleNet, that's where all the key players are. And the way Ripple governs these key players is through the rule book that Ripple has. Interesting, right? And
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be and to utilize RippleNet, you pay, what was it? I think an entry fee of $10 million just to be in RippleNet. So you have
Wow.
to want to be there. So when
Yeah.
Chris Larson says the network effect takes off, it clearly does. If central banks are
Yeah.
using these things at $10 million a pop, You know.
Yeah.
That's
These institutions, they don't spend money unless they've done their homework.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
and they can get that over time, those funds back, or it saves them that money, $10 million over the next, say, 50 years. Okay, just 50 years in speculation of the technology stays up to date for 50 years.
Hmm.
Even though I think we're very much in a technological revolution, like we're going to see things go exponential. But that aside, bankers thinking $10 million, 50 years, that's pennies
Hmm.
on what we're going to be able to do. We're going to save so much time using this software, this network. Um, you know, Melissa, you know, there's something that you mentioned, the little guy, the little man. You look at Ripple. Look at Ripple, just the company. They're not building something for the little man per se, right? That's not their focus. Their focus is the global payment system at large,
Hmm.
right? Okay, so that has to start with, I mean, it does start with the little man, but it is meant for, the upper echelons of our financial systems at a global level, right?
Can I say
Um,
one thing, Simon?
you
Why
say
I
all you want.
why I think that's so important, and that gives me hope, and hence my name, World Be Free,
Uh-huh.
on X. I'm World Be Free, because I do look at that as an opportunity for them to be free from the existing the way that things work now. And so
Yes.
with something like Ripple, they're no longer going to be beholden to the IMF and having to hold money in Nostra Vostra accounts in order to do business with other countries. It's empowering for them, more
To a
so than the way
degree.
they are now, to a
Hmm.
big
Yeah,
degree.
to a degree. I mean, we're in this we all agree that Mr. Man, you said this on the brink actually. You brought it to the forefront. We, this generation now, right? This time now, we are going we're going to the physical to the digital, right? The end game is the digital 5D, right? The old way of doing things was 3D. We're right now in 4D. We're going to take the physical and get it over to digital, right? For future
Hmm.
generations. That's where we're at right now. And Melissa, I think you're spot on with the freedom part, because different countries around the world can now reclaim a big portion of their sovereignty in their own financials, right? In their own currency, right? And there's a brand new level playing field per se that's being rolled out with this software, and how it can be implemented in each owns jurisdiction, right? That's the beautiful part about the Ripple net and the Ripple software. Where it comes to the XRP, the token, the coin, right? Um, you know, if the world still continues over time to agree that yes, we're going to continue to use XRP, all these entities, countries are going to have to go and get, if they, I'm sure they have already, but they're going to have to continue to acquire XRP if the XRP token is the car, if you will, to transact back and forth via the uh, Ripple net and the XRP ledger. And I think that's where the little guy, the everyday Joe Schmo, me, you, and everybody else under the sun, uh, we got a beautiful opportunity to own that asset, because it will be needed. It'd be like if we all had our own little oil field. We get it now. We own the oil field, right? We get to own XRP, even Bitcoin. Same. If you own Bitcoin and you're in a country that has really messed up banking system, et cetera, it's really tough to
Hmm.
do any type of banking business there.
Hmm.
At the street level, you literally can use Bitcoin. El Salvador, Brazil, a few others, that are doing that. Um, and I think that's beautiful, and I really think in some way, shape, or form, it's already there because you can buy. XRP with Bitcoin, and vice versa. You can do that right now on any exchange. You can sell the Bitcoin for XRP or swap, rather. I guess that would be the technical term, is you could swap out for that. So I think that's really what's going to help free generations at the Main Street level, is by us owning those assets, the XRP, the Stellar, maybe get a little quant algorithm, H bar maybe.
Absolutely, I love me some
Yeah.
man.
I mean, just get a few of them. So, I mean, you don't have to be a diehard XRP guy all the time, man. Go and get you some of those other things, man. I mean,
absolutely.
You got your coin, cool, but it doesn't hurt to have your toe in other ponds.
Absolutely.
Can I say hi to some of the folks that are listening to us? We got Lisa in here. We have DJ Serve One. Thank you for coming, Kyle. Who else do we have here?
K Pokes.
Pay me an XLM. I like that. Chapter 444. Who else? Alex Yeet, I think is what it is, and Kyle K Pokes.
Yeah, Kyle XTC. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you guys that are listening, if you wouldn't mind to, if you can retweet this out, if you're on Twitter or if you're on YouTube and you share it,
give us
like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to grow our channels here. So Brandon Loft is here. Tasha Lee is here. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. I'm sorry, that was just a little shout out action. Carry on.
Can I just quickly give a quick shout out to Tasha Lee? What's up, Tasha? She behind the scenes, her and I, we chat, and she's something else, man. She's fierce. She's fierce.
Whoa, are you saying, whoa, time out. Are you saying on open public record for all time, because this is a live stream, it's already going out, it's on the interwebs. Are you saying that Tasha Lee is a more efficient researcher than yourself?
I can't confirm nor deny, but behind the scenes, when we connect, like there's something special that happens there. Like, she sees things differently than I do, and I see things differently than she does. So when we come together and we put our minds together,
love it.
There's an awesome shiny road, a bright road ahead of us that can clear visions in terms of what I'm trying to connect or what she's trying to connect.
The left eye and the right eye. I love it. The left eye and the right eye, man. I love it. That's beautiful. Well, Tasha Lee, I'm gonna have to try to not to sound creepy, right? I'm gonna have to try to find you, see what's good, see what you're posting too, man. Because
we got this gentleman right here too, guys.
So that roadmap now, you guys want to chat about that roadmap?
Yeah. I was just gonna, let's bring on this roadmap, because we're right there with the research and everything, man. Let's go over this. Explain what it is a little bit, and then just take us through the whole gamut.
Okay, so how do you want to do this? Would you like me to share my screen, or do you guys want to take control and
you can
go ahead and share your screen? Yeah, go ahead and share your screen, because you got all your links right there too.
Present.
Oh, try it one more time. It was there.
Let me know if that works.
I'm gonna add that to stage. There it is.
There we go.
All right, go for it. Yep, I got you.
Okay, so what we have here is the Mr. Man Road to Crypto Adoption. It has nothing to do with numerology, although I think numerology is cool. Nothing to do with dates, nothing to do with any of those things. I think they're really cool. I just cannot conceptualize those things and put those into reality for myself. I'm sure, almost certain that they have reality to them because I follow them, but I don't understand them. They're on a next level to my conceptualization here. So this is my road to adoption based off of the nuggets I was able to pick up and learn from. Now I want to take you guys through it. So here, there's also some new things that I haven't added yet, but I have them in my head and loaded up as well. So in 2023, last year, so there's no time. There's a video that states that there's no time left. All banks will be on ISO 20022 by the end of 2023. But that's actually by the end of 2025. The implementation is for 2023, and then they have a phase-in period. Everything's a phase-in period between 12 months to 12 to 18 months. And then they have to have that set. So the last final date is in 2025. So just going
And
through
does that mean that those banks are, the way I understand that too, is that those banks are in various stages. Some are closer to being fully done, and others are kind of like in between the stages,
Behind the
right?
eight ball.
And they and
exactly.
I had watched like a banking conference where they were highly encouraging banks to do it early, don't wait.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of surprising that some of them are dragging their feet. What do you think that means actually for those that are waiting until the deadline? Where do you see that going? Do you see them surviving or getting eaten up eventually in the next year or two here before the deadline, or what?
It all depends on where they're at. Like for us in aviation, we are looking at new platforms, new software to use to track our aircraft. So to give you guys a little background on who I am, I look after the technical records for the aircraft with an air paramedic / air chartered airline. And what that means is anytime maintenance is done on the aircraft, or at least I was in that capacity, I've retired now, as Melissa had said. What I would do anytime maintenance was done, I would look at the maintenance, the scope of the maintenance work that was accomplished within that work report, learn about what they had done, and then look after our maintenance schedule that has been prescribed to us from Transport Canada, which is the governing body in Canada, and make sure that the work that was accomplished is now tracked within our software system, so that way the work can continue within the prescribed timeline for the recurrency to happen again. There are work outside of the prescribed work known as a snag, and I look after that as well. We have deferrals, we have calendar items. There's cycle items that trigger by cycles. There's various mechanisms that would trigger why maintenance needs to get done, and I track all of that and make sure that it's done and looked after in compliance to what the CARS states, and CARS is Canadian Aviation Regulations. So I make sure that our company and our maintenance work, or our AMO as it's known, the Aircraft Maintenance Organization or Operation, stays within the framework that we've been given to us by the governing body. So that's my job.
Right.
And I'm able to take that and my understanding of it and make a lateral move to the financial industry and see it had taken some time to learn who the players were, to learn some of the regulations that I know, because I'm still learning some, and then come to my determination on which companies actually adhere to these regulations that I've learned now, and how they adhere to them, and what they need to do to remain in adherence to those governing bodies. Those will be the governing bodies such as the ISSB, as I was talking about earlier, the international standard setting bodies. So that's why I continually try to get out there that the SEC isn't like they're a governing body or a governing regulator for like us, for us.
Yeah.
They're not going to regulate, like the SEC doesn't, and the CFTC, they don't regulate the bank, the big banks. That's the big banks tell the SEC and the CFTC what to do.
Yes, they do.
That's how that works. So just going back here in 2024, this is the growth phase that we are in now. We've been in the POC. 2023 was the POC phase, the proof of concepts. We comparing proof of concept. XDC was used for this. China and Shanghai had sent shipments using this protocol. Barclays had sent this protocol proof of concept with Ripple and the EHKD in Hong Kong. Now it's time for the next hype cycle. That's what these bankers say. Now it's time for the hype cycle. We seen an iterance of it with the fake pump with the Bitcoin ETF. That was just a retail pump. That was, I want to say, being priced in as we were going and learning about the ETFs. You could see Bitcoin going up there based off of nothing but news and hype, and that's all it was. So just a hype cycle. And then when the ETFs came, you saw it plummet back down. So that clearly wasn't the growth phase yet. We're still in it. You're going to see it when it happens. So in January, the ETFs come out, which happened already. Then in I was about to pinch the screen there to zoom in, but I can't. That's not a touchable screen. Then we have the Korean accounting standards change, which isn't too important unless you're in Korea. Well, it actually is very important because that helps with the global adoption.
Well,
And
that's
then
what
we
I want to ask, Mr. Man. So this goes back to global standards, right?
Mhm.
So I'm assuming, and I don't know because I haven't dove into this significantly, but if the Korean they're changing their accounting standards, I'm
Mhm.
curious if they are more in line with some other countries' standards, so that there is this global standard. Because in order for this to all work cohesively together, um, they kind of have to be on a similar playing field, right? Like as
Mhm.
far
Mhm.
as if you want things to flow properly and not have any hiccups. And so I would think that is kind of a significant thing because I mean, even just us changing some of our terminology within our own accounting regulations and policies and procedures and stuff, that makes clarity for the space. So I just wondered if you agree with me on that, or I
No,
mean,
I do agree with you on that because it is a global unification that's happening here. As you heard, Augustine Karsten say, Karsten Augustine, I don't remember which one goes first, but he was
I'm terrible.
talking about the unified ledger. So there will be a unified way of accounting. Although how that will look ultimately will be different across jurisdiction, but
Yeah.
ultimately the end result will be the same. It's just
Yep.
how the layers look from different jurisdictions will be different. And then you'll have the bilateral agreement from country to country or from province to province or state to state
Yep.
will be the connector for those.
Right.
So in 2024, we have the quantum computing standards rolling out, which is again the implementation of it. And
Yep.
people keep saying the QFS, the quantum financial system, we're rolling into the fifth dimension. I believe you said that there, right, Simon?
Yes, I did. Yep.
Yeah. So that's what quantum compute. I want to say that's what quantum computing it is. It allows us to achieve a level that we haven't really achieved before as a humanity,
Yeah.
and as a I want to say as a global entity essentially, because we are legitimately
Yeah.
one human race as opposed to
Sure. Yep.
separated cultures as we
Right.
were made to
Right.
view each other. We're just one human
Right.
race.
Right.
So also in
Absolutely.
2024, I have it. I gotta see if I can pull this up here. It's on my computer here, which isn't. I guess I can bring that around here. Let me know if you guys can see that.
Still
I
seeing yours.
posted this today, this thread here.
Nope, can't see it. I can only see your map.
Oh, really?
If you, it's okay. If you do, you could stop sharing and then reshare your screen.
Okay, let me try that
There you go.
again.
Yeah, go ahead. So this is a post from earlier today you're trying to share with us?
It is, yeah.
Shout out to
Okay,
Spice. I think that's how you say that. I'm terrible at pronouncing.
can you see that now?
1 second.
We're
3,
gonna add it.
2,
My
1. There
Twitter
we
feed?
go.
Here we
Yeah,
go.
Okay.
got you.
So earlier this morning, I found this sweet connection here. And essentially what it says is HSBC has partnered with Ripple, which we've known, via Medico. And Medico or Mataco, however they pronounce it, is a custody company. And what brought me to this connection was in that interview with Brad Garlinghouse at Davos, the World Economic Forum. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah.
He had said that 2024 is the year of custody. And I'm like, oh, okay, custody. Let me look into what Mataco has. And let me check out Fortress Trust. And the first place I went to was Mataco. And I started learning, deep diving into who these guys are. And that's how I came across this here, what I'm about to show you guys here. So Mataco offers custody service for, let's go through it. There we go.
There we go.
Digital assets,
Yeah,
including
there.
tokenized gold. The new service uses Mataco's harmonized solution and is an extension of HSBC's existing digital platform, which is known as HSBC Orion. The custody service for digital assets, including tokenized gold, is planned to be launched in 2024. And that also is an MVP. And when I say MVP, I don't mean most valuable player. I mean minimum viable product. So it's going live with the minimum amount of requirements needed to produce a live product, to have it roll out, and to be able to have it functional, essentially the way they want it to function. And then as they go, they're going to have different steps on top of that. MVP. I forget the other 3 other steps above that till they get to the final product at that point.
Did you say minimum viable product?
That's correct. Yes.
So basically they're good to roll with, which is kind of, I mean, so they just want it out, right?
Yeah.
They're going to go live with the minimal. It's like some would wait till they were farther down, right? But you're saying they're gonna go with this with the minimal viable products. That's interesting. Again, that is something that's significant that I probably would have overlooked. That I probably would have thought it was most valuable player.
All right.
Carry on.
Right. So, and as part of HSBC's commitment to overall development and of digital assets in the markets. So, and the main thing I keep hearing pushed is paradigm shift. I posted a video from Klaus Schwab when the World Economic Forum had opened up, and he was talking about we are going through or trying to reestablish trust. We're going through a paradigm shift. And then I heard Motako talking about we're going through a paradigm shift. And I heard another individual state a paradigm shift. And I'm like, I think we've arrived at this growth phase now for this paradigm shift to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So within this document here, or this link, HSBC takes stab at using blockchain to modernize London's antiquated market. That's the London Bullion Market, LMBA. I don't remember what the A is. Is that association?
I don't know.
I'm just looking for my mouse here is what I'm doing.
Top right, top left corner. There you go. You got it.
There we go. And then here, this is just a quick video, like it's a minute video. I don't believe there's sound on it on my screen if I'm sharing it, but it's just going through what Motako's harmonized platform is. And I was asked the question earlier, is this for retail investors? This isn't for retail, it's for institutional, it's for enterprise, it's for the big boys, if you will, right? Not for us.
Yep.
So HSBC can leverage that to put on their platform. So essentially like embedded financing, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So can I ask you a question, Mr. Mann? So would that be a tool that the institutions would then be able to offer to their customers? Like, yes, because I mean, there's a lot of things. A lot of the banking conferences I listened to, they were pretty much saying like they're not going to be doing the crypto stuff themselves, right? The digital asset stuff themselves. They're going to go through third party. So this would be an example of a third party that they're adhering to their own set of regulations and standards, right? Based on whatever they're building. And then they're going to sell it to these institutions, right?
Absolutely.
And then I'm asking this question, but I the way I'm thinking it would be like our bank has this service now, and as an end user, I'm going to be using it, not knowing that I'm using that product, like to access whatever XYZ. Am I in the ballpark here?
You totally knocked it out of the ballpark. People won't even realize they're using this. It'll be like an incremental over the cloud software update. And so the partners themselves that partner say with Motako, HSBC will have their own platform API, and then is it UI UX interface essentially, which connects with Motako's interface. And HSBC technically cannot have digital assets because that's not within the charter, if you will, or within their
Yep.
regulations. So for another company to have that adheres to that framework that they are adhering to, framework or
Yeah. Framework. Yep. Framework. Yep.
so they can leverage that company that is adhering to that framework policy or that
Mhm.
framework, if you
Yep.
will, because now the bank isn't breaking their regulations that they need to adhere to, essentially. So
Right.
that's how that would work. It's just like sort of like a bilateral agreement, except I'm using you to leverage your technology because I cannot technically do this until
Right.
regulations change or state that I can do this. Until then,
Right.
it's not going to happen, or else I can get fined,
Basic.
even though being fined is part of, the everyday banking expense.
So another way to break it down for, I know people on my channel are really smart. But shout out to all my union construction workers. Basically, what that means is the general contractor has to hire subcontractors that have the framework, laws, and
Mhm.
regulations to do that scope of work. Okay. XPC, hey, we can't technically hold custody XRP. However, we have this company right here who we have a bilateral agreement contract, and they can, and then we can continue with the business, right? So that's how that kind of works. That's what we, the Main Street people, we won't see that relationship working every day. It's just there.
That makes sense.
That's nice.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's a nice real world working example of that.
Yeah.
And then I took that even further and I said DZ Bank has leveraged Ripple's Mataco harmonized platform to offer a state-of-the-art digital asset custody service, including the custody of crypto securities. The partnership signifies the integration of blockchain technology into traditional banking and reflects the growing fusion of conventional finance and digital assets. The use of Mataco Harmonize underpins DZ Bank's digital asset custody solution, enabling the bank to act as a crypto custodian for institutional clients and settle and hold crypto securities in compliance with regulations. The platform provides a secure, compliant, and scalable solution for institutional clients in the digital asset space, demonstrating DZ Bank's commitment to blockchain technology and its pioneering spirit in the digital asset industry. And just to show quickly, there we have DZ and Mataco. And then this is just a PDF snapshot, the opening of it. And then over here, you see Ripple and Interledger. That's their platform being used. You have SEPA and you have TIPS right there.
Yep.
So if anybody has anything negative to say, I mean, I provide the documents and I provide the links to it. Have at it yourself. I don't want to keep this stuff secret. I want everybody to know and to see it with their eyes and to learn. We're all here to teach one, and that's all I want to do is teach people.
Yeah, and you're doing an amazing job at it. You really are. As I was really trying to impress on the audience earlier in this live, that dude, you man, you're just absolute fire, bro. You're absolute fire. Like your skill set that you have, man, it is working beautifully out in this transitional period of the financial framework overall, and just the little tiny nuggets or connecting the dots that you do, like what you just did, right? Most of us probably wouldn't be able to really put that together. You did, and you put it in a very Main Street level, easy to digest presentation, if you will, man. So you do a fabulous job, dude. Fabulous job.
Thank you. So HSBC leverages, and I want to bring this back full circle now to leveraging XRP, because people always ask, well, will XRP be used? Doesn't mean XRP is being used because it says Ripple. Well, at the end of the day, when they say they're partnering with Ripple, what else are they partnering with? Ripple offers XRP. Ripple's not going to, HSBC and Mataco to say, hey, we have a software, we offer software as a software company, and we're here to sell you ETH. Like, that's not going to happen. They're there to sell the XRP asset on the XRPL. That's what they do. So
Right.
HSBC leverages XRP through its partnership with Ripple-owned Mataco for its digital asset initiative, including the launch of the institutional custody platform for tokenized securities. While the specific details of XRP's integration into HSBC's Orion platform are not explicitly mentioned in the provided sources, which I provided, it can be inferred that XRP's role is related to the broader ecosystem of digital assets and blockchain technology. The collaboration with Ripple Mataco signifies HSBC's commitment to the digital asset space.
You know, I just had this hit me just now as you were talking about XRP there and the institutions, and I'm thinking third party. I kept hearing custody, right? So custody. I kept hearing that probably over the past couple of weeks. Custody, custody, and this makes sense for this, that this third party company to. Let me add that back to the screen here. That third party is the custody part, right? So you have a bank or institution, okay? They can't hold the asset, okay? So now we're kind of working in a trust agreement. So this is where the custody, the company that holds that on behalf of the institution and is paid to do so, right? Would you agree with that?
I definitely agree with that.
So this custody thing, this oh dang it, what'd you call it? Klaus Schwab said it even. You brought it up earlier. I'm brain farting right now. Paradigm shift.
Yeah.
And trust. You did another tweet somewhere about trust. Trust was another focal point, right? Okay, when you have somebody else hold something for you on your behalf, that's called trust. That's literally a trust agreement in the old ways, right? That's a verbal trust agreement, but I don't want to get on a tangent on like that.
Money is the ultimate trust, isn't it? Money is the ultimate old school trust. We've all trusted money, and that concept is changing. They're trying to change the definition of money.
Yes, talk about it. Preach.
Yeah, we should play that if we can find it, but I don't want to take us off course here.
Let's continue with the map, but I think we should save like 30 minutes on that or something or whatever. Either way, I don't care. I'm game for it. We go off the rails all the time.
I don't think if you were to show that would be going off course, because everything is connected. For people to know that the definition of money is changing, it used to be a unit of account, store of value, and I can't think of the third one right now. I'm blanking. But there's a third one as well, and now they're adding a fourth, a means of societal control.
Yeah,
and that's what that is.
Oh, dang!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
If that's not in your face, I don't know what is. Dang.
It's next level, man. That's next level stuff right there. So
a whole nother level.
just going back to the MVP there, the minimum viable product. Also in 2024, coincidentally, Project mBridge is going live, and Project mBridge is the China's UK
version.
Not UK, but China, UAE, Switzerland, HKMA, PBOC version of that's their cross-border platform, if you will, being utilized by MCBDCs, multi-CBDC. It's similar to an RLN, which is a regulated liability network, which is cross-border payments, except that will be utilized by the US and the UK, essentially a trust line. So for the MCBDC, which is the multi-central bank digital currency used with the multi-bridge bank, if you will, mBridge, it's a multi-bridge for a focal place, like a highway for different currencies to go through and produce the FX swap, if you will, if I'm doing any justice to that definition.
Yep. No, that's right. Yep. That's exactly correct.
Okay. So coincidentally, this is going live. I want to say, I'm not sure if it's going live before or after HSBC goes live with its platform. How coincidental is this? I mean, you get
wait
a live, you get a live cross-border entity taking place now in terms of Enbridge, and now we have a tokenizing security platform going live as well through an actual bank. And also in 2024,
Weird.
March 2024, 2 months from now, we have 2 months, January, February, March, 2 months, we have SEPA going live as well, not fully, but with a portion of the purchase process. I can't think of it. A portion of the process for remittance, essentially going live in March 2024. In
What is
June,
SEPA? What is
SEPA
SEPA?
is the Single Euro Payments Association. Single Euro of Payments Association. Essentially, that's Europe's clearing and settlement house. Sort of like in the US, they have TCH, the clearinghouse. Then there's the ACH. Then there's FedWire. And then now there's FedNow. In Europe, they have SEPA. And also, not too long after that, those go live. The Enbridge and then SEPA goes live, and Mataco goes, or HSBC go live. In June, we have the asset reference tokens going live. And when I say going live, I don't mean you're going to see like a bunch of stable coins being used now.
No, it'll be slow rollout.
Yeah. So asset reference tokens and e-money tokens. E-money tokens are what you use on your phone already. You put $1 at the ATM, or you see $1 on your phone. That's just, it's e-money. Like, it's not.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily have value. It's part of the fractionalized reserve banking structure. But then you have the asset reference tokens.
Yeah, can you go into what those are a little bit? What does that mean?
Sure.
For those that don't know.
So back in the day, before, I guess back in 1971, Richard Nixon had removed the dollar, the actual dollar, from the peg or reference asset of the gold. So then now, when he removed that stabilizing force as the gold, the dollar began to inflate. Henry Kissinger had gone to Saudi Arabia, made a deal with the Saudis, and pegged the dollar to oil. So that's what I want to say, stabilized the value of the dollar, even though it's been on a tear and going up in terms of value still too. It's unstable.
And that's what where the term petrodollar came into play, which many of us are familiar with.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we're going back to that standard. I don't want to call it a gold standard, but people know it as a gold standard. We're going back to a gold standard essentially.
Asset or commodity.
Exactly. So that's why it's called an asset reference token. It can be pegged to gold, it can be pegged to silver, different commodities such as oil, real estate, diamonds, my sweater, whatever has a stable value.
Your sweater's gonna be tokenized? Nah, that's fire. How much is that?
Tokenize everything.
Yeah.
How much for the mask?
Hey, you're the first one out to get off the platform. Got the sweater in there, man. Fire.
Oh yeah, man. I'm making all kinds of moves. Major moves.
Woo! Go ahead.
So after the asset reference tokens go live, what that means is now that the different banks or the banks in the UK through the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority, will now be accepting applications for companies. And when I say applications, I mean white papers from companies who want to produce an asset reference token. Sort of like, let's say, USDC. They're backed by cash in the bank, in the central bank, and government treasuries and bonds. Then you have USDT, which I don't recommend. I'm not trying to say anything good or bad or indifference, just off of my learning. I don't recommend them, but they state and claim to have assets which under treasuries or in reserve, which provide their value to their USDT token. I don't believe that, but that's the claim out there. That's how those tokens are going to work. And then in December 2024, this is when MiCA, the final stage of MiCA goes live. When I say final stage, I don't mean the end result. I mean like the final stage of this first phase, because there's going to be several phases layered on top of each other in terms of how they're going out. Right now, I want to
Yeah.
say it's MICA is a couple hundred pages, maybe 300 and something pages. By time it's all said and done, MICA is going to have about 1,000 and something pages at that point,
Wow.
and they're rolling it out in phases.
Yeah, this makes sense. All you construction workers out there, you all should be picking up on this, man, because this is how buildings are built. This is how roads are made. It's always in phases. Always, always, always. And then there's always the paperwork to follow. We did this. This got inspected. This did this. We tested this. We did like that's. I mean, that's just standard. So yeah, all you construction workers should be like picking up on this like it's nothing.
Yeah, makes
When
sense.
when I was in the oil fields, what we do when we were spinning wrenches at that point, before we even got to the rig itself, we'd have a JSA, a joint safety meeting.
Yep.
We would talk about the safety of what we intend to, what we will potentially see while we're out there, how we intend to mitigate that risk, what our goal is for the day. After that goal, how we plan to take everything down and get home safe. So we have those meetings, and that's what they do.
Same, man. Union sheet metal worker. Every day, we got a pre-task plan, right? Then we have like the safety meeting with the general. What trades are going to be where, what day, what are they trying to accomplish? What do we have to get out of the way from? All that stuff. That's like a constant everyday thing. Same thing. That's before we put our tools on.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. So at the end of 2024, we're at a kind of the end of a big phase one, if you will. Gotcha.
Yeah. It is the end of a big phase at that point. We will now be heading into an even bigger phase in 2025, early 2025. China, US, and I want to say Canada as well, unless Canada adheres to it already. I don't really recall, and I'm struggling to determine how they adhere to it. But Basel III will be implemented at that point. When I say implemented, it's just the phase-in period. They will have a 3 years to actually implement what the their risk-weighted assets are, or to hold treasuries again within their vaults, if you will, if that's the term we're going to use. I guess now the term is custody. They have to have that money or those treasuries or those commodities to back up what these individual banks state they have. And it's not on a regional blanket. It's individual banks or financial institutions. If you say you have $1 million, you need to have that asset or those assets or those treasuries or whatever it is to back that up. So when you give it out, then that person brings it's now pegged to whatever that is in the treasuries, and that person brings that back in. They can convert it back to whatever it was that they're looking to convert it to.
Essentially it's a swap. Like in something to kind of further that thought is in a casino, right? Vegas, right? Vegas, Nevada state law stipulates that for every casino chip on the floor, they have to have $1 in their vault for everyone that's on the floor. Right.
I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
Yeah. Nevada gaming rules. Oceans, dude, that's an Ocean's 10. Don't you guys watch that? George Clooney, Brad Pitt.
I mean, what did you say? This is the thing.
But it is a thing.
This should have been this way all along, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It should have already been the rules.
But that's gonna with the rollout on the Basel III, I think then we're gonna start to see some banks take a position, because it's not just the institutions. I think here in the U.S., each branch has to be Basel III. It's not just hey, you are at your headquarters and you're good, because each branch has its own charter as well, right? To be there, a bank, right? So that branch has to also be Basel III. So think about now here in the U.S. Is this a workaround? And I'm just spitfiring here. I don't know about in Canada, but has there been banks that are shutting down branches and they're going fully automated, right? Does that automation connection thus get the blanket cover for the Basel III? Right? Because you think about custody, digital assets, okay? If everything's digital, wherever our little tentacles go, at wherever our, you know, our branches are, but that branch is fully automated, no human on site or no separate charter. At that point, I would think that would be a blanket cover for the Basel III. Maybe I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe that's why we're seeing some of these branches close down and then get rebuilt as a fully automated bank.
Still, we're going to be required though to hold the amount that you're depositing, right?
Mhm.
It's just not, they're just not in a physical location. So
yeah, exactly. That's the workaround, right? It's like, holy crap, if we have to have all this money, okay, at each bank, whoa, that's a lot of risk. That's a lot of risk. Each bank can get popped off, and that can be a big.
I didn't even take it like that. I didn't take it like that. I didn't take it that it was in physical form, that they had to have it at the branch in physical form. I thought it meant that, you know, you have to be holding that, meaning you can't just pretend money it goes in and then you create some other money out of thin air, and you don't have enough money to give to let whoever wants to take that money out of your bank that you can't,
so let's,
because you don't have enough.
Right. So right. Well, but now every bank, okay, JP Morgan and Chase, how many branches do they have here in the US? So that means if you open up an account at that branch, then that branch has to hold X amount of assets for X amount of clients and so on and so forth. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So from a corporate level, I would say that's a huge risk. You mean each one of my physical branches has to physically hold the thing? No. We'll go digital and we'll be compliant there, because you're connecting digitally through our central hub, right? So there's only 1 or 2 or 3 spots, air quotes, holding all the eggs, versus each branch holding X amount of eggs out there in John Q. Public. Like, you know, go back in the 70s and 80s with just, you know, bank robberies were a thing. I mean, all the way back to the Wild Wild West. I mean, watch any Hollywood movie you want. The bank's always getting hit, right? So if all these branches had to be compliant as well, which that's kind of my understanding. As on another topic, I've recently reached out to Chase that said that they are Basel III compliant, as well as all their branches, at least in my state where I live here on the West Coast. So I found that interesting that they went the distance to even stipulate that. But to me, that implies that, hey, all these banks are going to have to be Basel III compliant. That goes to the extent of each branch that is open, because each branch has its own license / contract / charter.
Speaking of having their own charter, have you guys heard of MavenNet?
No.
MavenNet, no.
So MavenNet is currently pre-charter. They are a credit union, and they're the first credit union to be going live pre-charter. Oh, wow. And the way that they can go pre-charter, they can get around the SEC, is because they are coming out as a credit union as opposed to a bank, and have to follow the BSA, the Bank Secrecy Act. They follow a different charter. So they are now coming out as a digital credit union pre-charter, not having to adhere to the SEC and have to go and go through that process that Ripple had gone through.
Right.
Is it MavenNet?
Yep.
Is that it? I just pulled it up.
Yeah, it is. If you type in Maven Federal, MavenFederal.org, you can bring that up there.
Maven Federal.
Very
good. .org.
Once again, connecting the dots and huge gems, courtesy of Mr. Mann.
I spent a good
distributed ledger. That's fantastic. Thanks for the tip, Mr. Mann.
No problem. I got you guys.
Yeah, you do.
So just going back to Basel III requirements and the phase-in period of that, it's a 3-year phase-in. So by 2028, I'm kind of jumping over things there in the
Yeah.
timeline.
No, it's
But
good.
by 2028, that's when it's slated to be going live. When in 2028, I don't have a date yet, but that's Canada, US, China, and I want to say others as well. Ironically enough, or coincidentally enough, within that date, the EU plans to roll out their digital pound, and then the UK will have their digital pound, no, digital sterling, and the EU will have their digital euro. So just going back, we were in 2024, we were in 2025, sorry, talking about Basel III. In 2025, also right here, that's the reevaluation of crypto. Crypto would involve stable coins because stable coins are constituted as crypto, or the crypto assets, sorry, not crypto, the crypto assets or digital assets. And that reevaluation will be taking place by IOSCO and the OECD, the Organization for Economic something development. I don't remember what it is, community development or something
When you
along
say
those lines.
reevaluation of them, what do you think that means?
So
What does that mean?
the implementation came out in November or December 2020, November 2023, and then they're going to take a step back in 2025 and then reevaluate and reassess how it's been going, and then implement new regulations or full regulations at that point. It's the reevaluation, kind of like how people discuss and say the reevaluation of gold, if you will. You know, like right now, gold is suppressed, it's being held and buffered down by JPM and the crew. And then we're going to have that reevaluation. Now that digital currencies are being pegged to gold itself, it's going to potentially increase the value of that gold. So it's essentially being reevaluated based off of use now, essentially, if you will. So there's going to be use in 2025 because it's what I say it was, it's the, what's that word I used? Up here. It's the growth phase. That's it. It's the growth phase in 2024. It's the use phase. It's the use cycle in 2025.
Right. And so now they have to reevaluate and go, hey, is it working? Yes. Is it still efficient? Yes. What's the damages that we've had over the course of the year or what have you, right? That's what they're gonna do. It doesn't necessarily adequate to value as in what we would assume is value, right? Dollar price, right? No, they got to make sure the rubber meets the road, per se, or the anti-gravity thrusters can get us out into space. Those types of things.
Or if they're like, are we all on the same page?
That's all of that. All of that gets
globally, making sure that they're all understanding each other. And
just like what Mr. Mann was alluding to when he was out in the oil fields, right? That whole teardown part, right? During that teardown part, we would still, we at times would have another meeting. Hey, how did today's production go? Right? We got to do this again in 2 weeks. You know, what can we improve on? What's going to be needed? You know, and we actually go let that marinate for a day or two because we got some time. But that's the reevaluation that you guys are talking about there, correct?
Absolutely. And in 2025, we have the coexistence coming to an end as well, and that would be for Canada, US, and that's based off of certain codes within SWIFT. So they will now not need to be dependent on SWIFT for those specific codes. They can now skirt around that and use digital assets, whatever those digital assets are. I don't want to insinuate what they are. I can definitely see a few or a handful that I can think that would be using XRP, but but that's just to say that may or may not be used based off of my research. It looks like it's a clear front runner.
Yeah.
But we'll see where life goes, right? Life is dynamic like that. Nothing's written in stone. It's ever changing.
So like this 2025 where you're saying like that finally comes to an end. So these banks that are dragging their feet on the implementation, going ISO 2022 and jumping in this whole thing, that is like, that's the end. If you're not playing, you're not gonna be able to do any payments, right? If this coexistence goes away in 2025, If you haven't replaced it with something, you're out of business, right?
For those particular messaging, for those messaging standards, absolutely, you're going to
Yeah.
struggle to find
Yeah.
a way around that.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I figured.
So we were talking about 2028 as the full implementation and adoption of Basel III. And then also in 2028, just over here, we have the EU relinquishing coexistence now as well for some messaging standards for Swift as well.
Right.
So, yeah, and a lot of people are very hype about Link. Link is a solid project. Link is working directly with Swift, and they offer, I want to say, smart contract in terms of value moving. And people say you don't need to bridge asset because you have the value moving within Link itself. Link offers a smart contract. You still need the underlying value or the peg to that reference asset. So all these different cryptocurrencies work with each other, not against each other, not opposing each other. They work with each other. Hypothetically, if it's XRP moving value or XLM or XDC, Link would move with that as another layer within that web itself, being utilized to move that value, not one versus the other. It's an entire ecosystem that works harmoniously.
Yes, absolutely.
I like your little rocket ship.
After this conversation, I'm gonna go have a nice adult bevy there. I got a mango Mai Tai waiting for me.
Whoa, mango Mai Tai. Perfect.
Yeah, man.
That sounds delicious.
So, and by all means, you guys feel free to jump into whenever. In 2030, we're coming near to the end of my roadmap here, but there's a new $20 bill rolling out, a new $50 bill, and a new $5 bill coming out in the U.S. I'm not in the U.S. I'm in Canada. However, the U.S. is the big boy in the scene here, and everybody else globally is making their moves, but nobody can finalize their moves without the U.S. because the saying goes, same risk, same something else, same output or same outcome, essentially. They want everybody to be in lockstep and moving and utilizing these same platforms, similar, but how they look on the end as the end result will be different. I believe I stated that earlier. And then in 2025, it's 2035, it's the full implementation of quantum computing.
Right.
Whew. It's a mouthful.
Dang, man.
That's a mouthful.
That is a mouthful. Question. Speculate. A quick answer, I guess. How long did it take you to put this map together?
This thing, the map itself to put together took only about an hour to create it.
No, I'm talking all these connections, all these dots, all of it, the whole package. How long? So
I jumped into crypto 2021, and I jumped in at the top like most new people, and I saw myself.
Congratulations.
DE value, and I was like, oh, this is what's going on here. People were making money, and at that point, I began to dive in furiously into what Bitcoin was. And by the time I was done, I'm like, this is nonsense. This is not telling me anything but pure hype and speculation. It's not telling me a thing. And then I caught wind of Coach JV. I caught wind of T's Crypto Spot. I caught wind of Quincy Jones, and they had, and I caught wind of CypherX, and they had told me essentially about XRP, and I was like, no, this is the truth. This is the truth. In between that, I was also scammed numerous times too by fake people. And because of all those scams, that's what made me put my boots on and start marching and learning myself and taking my deep dives. And I dove head first and have not come out from that dive yet. I'm still holding my breath. I don't need air. I don't need any air yet, because of all of that, I've been able to amass this amount of information as quickly and condensed as I could, because I began to learn that within crypto, it literally is like a crypto cowboy space. You know, you walk in with your loot bag and your horse, and you run in, you shoot it up, yeehaw, you grab what you can, and you disappear. You disappear.
Yeah.
You know, and Rosie Rio states that the best. You know, she's like her two kids. They are trying to execute the Robin Hood strategy, and that's what I'm trying to do, is execute the Robin Hood strategy. I want to be in and I want to be out. I have an extra strategy because I don't want to have to trust people based on the word that they know what they're talking about without concrete proof and evidence to suggest that they actually know what they're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's smart of you to do that. And that shows the level of your determination. And it's people that have determination and boldness that really are the front runners. Clearly, that is evidence right in front of the whole audience right now of your fierce determination, and motivated by you coming into the crypto space and being bamboozled halfway through, and what your perspective was initially was not even close to the reality of how you perceived it and how it's going to function in your life. And then you found it. Then you, on your journey there, like most of us, we aligned with like-minded individuals, right? We started seeing the proof in the pudding. We can smell hype a mile away, from in this, because of the space. But those were some hard lessons learned. I can assure that the both of you could attest to some hard lessons learned. But dude, you took some pain and anguish, man, and you put this beautiful thing right here in front of us, this map, and the now those are all hyperlinks, right? Correct?
They
If
are,
I'm
that's
wrong.
correct.
Those are all hyperlinks.
That's
Yeah, or they're not hyperlinks. They're links, right?
Yeah,
That's
you can click on them. There we go.
yes.
These are the mouth popping up there. Oh, I clicked on it and you guys can't see it. It's on my screen here.
Because it went into your other screen, right? Yeah, I got the same problem.
Yeah.
I got two screens.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, there it is. Trust me, it popped up. It popped up.
We got a comment from Sir Thinks
Yeah.
a Lot. Says, I jumped in 2021 myself, started with Jeff Berwick and Monero, and I saw Crypto Hulk
Crypto
in my
Hulk.
feed, and he turned me on to XRP.
XRP.
Crypto Hulk.
Crypto Hulk, I have a lot of respect for that guy. I don't know how he has his foresight reading the news. When I read the news, like I personally learn nothing from reading the news. What all I do is read the news to get to the actual links to get me to certain documents so I can read those regulatory documents. Right. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what's going on here.
Right.
I don't want that dissemination from somebody else. But Crypto Hulk, his foresight is very intriguing. He's an interesting man. That's all.
He is an interesting person.
Yeah,
I was listening to him there for a while, but I don't listen to him as much. But yeah, listening to the news or reading the news. I think I told you before, Mr. Man. I have my own unique way of researching things, and I forever have News Unlocks the Map in my brain. And so when you see them showing things in the news or in in print, a lot of times they put a lot of unnecessary details in a particular story. And almost every time that I say, well, why did they put that in there? And I'll search that out. I will find something every time that is connected to something different than what the story was even about. And so I'll find a lot of connections like that, off the wall stuff. And then, like I always say, it's like, oh, I know it's significant. I just don't know why. I just, my gut instinct tells me that, there's something to this. And, my Ryan says, by the time you get done putting all there's something to this, you're going to have a whole lot of knowledge there, Melissa. I'm like, yeah, I know. But
one of the things that schooling had taught me when I was in college for aviation management, that as you're reading news and they drop a name of somebody, the CEO or where they work or whatever it is they do, and it's unfamiliar to you, Google it. Google who that person is, Google where they work, Google their position, find out who they're connected with, and just keep going down that dive and then get to know that person. So if you ever come across that person, you can have a conversation with them. It's not like you don't know who they are. You know who the players are. You know the moves they're making. You know where they're trying to get to because of who they are and the moves they're making.
Yeah, exactly. That's a valid point.
Manny says, I just love it when something in the brain just does all the connections. Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Usually,
yeah,
usually there'll be
100%.
like a eureka moment where you're just like, oh yeah, I just
You,
figured something out, or did I? You know,
Yeah.
you know,
I, u-
uh, speaking of eureka moments, um, so back in 2009, when Bitcoin was first launched, and my younger brother, Grayson, he told me about it, and I was sitting there going like, yeah, internet money, right? Because this is 2009, right? I was like, yeah, internet money. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's going to be a thing. That 100% is going to be a thing. We should get some of this Bitcoin, and that was my that's a story for another day though. But that was my eureka moment. Was that like, wow, this is a thing, and it just kept on going, right, to where I'm at right now. There was like a lull between 2009 and when I started really participating and investing in crypto, which was 2016. But I just kept hearing little talking heads uh like after one Super Bowl between 2009, I think it was like 2010. Um oh my gosh, Richard Sherman for the Seahawks. They just won the Super Bowl, and he went to Stanford University, a graduate, and he in this interview he randomly said something about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be the thing. Bitcoin is, invest in some Bitcoin, get some Bitcoin, right? And
mhm.
it was just those little nuggets to get me to where I'm at today. Now, whether people think Bitcoin is it or not, I think all cryptos, as you stated earlier this evening, Mr. Man, that they're all going to be working together. They all have a part to play, all of them. Some of these cryptos, Bitcoin in particular for this guy, was my gateway crypto, right? Right. Litecoin was my crypto that I actually got because it was cheaper. I didn't know at the time that you could spend $10 and get a little bit of Bitcoin, also known as Satoshis, right? So I was like, well, I can't afford Bitcoin at $300. I can afford Litecoin at $20, you know.
Mhm.
And that was my first entry there. But there was a lot of aha moments and excitement of how the system was changing. Even then, in 2017, coins like Digibyte had a wallet, and me and a coworker, we buy each other coffee, but we would send Digibyte to each other using the QR code. And I remember being on the job site, and other construction workers would be like, what are you guys doing? And we just explained to them, it's like, oh, this is a cryptocurrency. We can send payments to each other just like this. Bing. They're like, oh, that's great. It's like, it's great till you lose your phone, but yeah, it's actually pretty cool,
Mhm.
but you'd explain that I would start to explain these things to them, dude, in one ear out the other, until years later, till they had their eureka moment, right? Of like, oh, I get it now. I see the writing on the wall. It's a beautiful thing. So actually, my question to you both now, and we'll start with Mr. Man, then go Melissa. When was your eureka moment in the crypto space?
So, like yourself, I caught wind of Bitcoin 2009. I was engaged at this point and more focused on the person I was with.
Sure.
And I met up with, not met up, but like online, met up with this group, and they're like, oh, we'll teach you all about Bitcoin, how to buy it. They're like, download Kraken. Kraken was like bare bones, nothing. And then
Yeah.
there was, I believe it was Coinbase as well back
Yep.
then. And
Yep.
I didn't know how to operate any of these things. And they're like, we'll show you how to operate this and teach you. And they didn't. I felt like I was left behind. I feel like they were at where I'm at now back then, Like
Yep.
I was just
Hmm.
extremely new. I didn't know what Bitcoin was. I knew it was internet money of sorts, and they were trying to
Sure.
talk to me and use all these words I had never heard before, and it became such a
Right.
big jargon mind dump on me. I was like, this is just too much, and I left it alone. Fast forward to 2015, I'm in school now, and I was like, you know what? I need to figure out what this Bitcoin stuff is. So I invested a little bit in there. I made a little bit of money, nothing I could brag about. Made a little bit of money,
Sure.
took it out.
Sure.
Helped me pay for some food and whatnot while I was a poor
Right.
college student. And
Right.
then again, 2021 is when it really hit home. when I had an investment with myself, my sister, my mother, and my cousin. And what it was they wanted to try and save money. So I created this structure where every month we'd all put $100 in into a bank
Yep.
account, and I was the
Yep.
governor of it, and it would just grow like that. But it wasn't doing anything for us. It wasn't working for us.
Right. Right.
My sister and cousin had gotten together and said that they wanted to invest in Bitcoin. And then they came to me about it. I went to my mother about it. We had a meeting, and then we threw into Bitcoin. I threw into Bitcoin in 2021 and lost a significant portion of it. And I was like, oh my God, like what just happened? What just happened? So then that's where another, a part of my need came
Growth.
to learn what's going on here, because I'm the custodian of this money here. People are trusting me. I need to make sure that when I say this is happening, this is happening as closely as possible to what's going on in this space.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Melissa, your aha moment.
I don't know if it's an aha moment, but my journey basically, when my boys were younger, one of them many years ago, I don't even know how many years ago, but it was probably around the same time your brother was telling you about the internet money. And they said, Joey's buying it, I'm going to buy it. And I said, no, you're not. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I was closed-minded, shut it down, said no, which I normally am not that kind of a person, but for whatever reason, I was like, this is nonsense. I don't know enough about this whole computer money. And so I kind of set it aside, didn't think about it again. And then maybe a year or two later, somebody else talked about Bitcoin, and I started trying to research it. And everything that I found was people talking way over my head, way over my head. It seemed much, much too complicated. And then I was just like, I'm not smart enough to to understand. And I don't usually tend to get involved in things that I don't understand or I don't feel that I can understand and comprehend. And so again, I kind of backed off. And then I want to say I think it was in 2019. I'm not exactly sure. I have to look back through my records because it's been several years now that I've been in the space. My big boss at work for Christmas bought us all Bitcoin through the pilot program. Swan Bitcoin had a give
Yeah.
Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and basically they bought it for you had to hold it for a year. They held it, and then after a year's time, you had to move it into your own wallet. And so from that journey, they sent you like educational materials also. Like every week, they would send emails about this what Bitcoin is. Anyway, I started learning, I started discovering about money. And I mean, I'm an accountant. But I never questioned money before. I never really
Right.
even
Mhm.
educated myself on the concept of money, what it was,
Mhm.
how our financial system was set up. So I did that whole diving in. And that's one thing I'll say about Bitcoin and the journey with this is that it does force you to learn about money and start asking questions because of the concepts that they present, and then you realize, wow, that this is really a messed up situation. So anyway, I got in, and once I was able to take the Bitcoin out after 1 year, his gift had went from like, I think he bought us all $40 or something, $35, $40 worth. It was worth like $300 something. And I thought,
Woo!
you would
Bonus.
That's what's up. That's
put
nice.
it right. I didn't know. And so anyway, I started investing and learning more. And then I stumbled upon XRP by accident one day. And I researched that, and my gut instinct told me this is the one. This is going to be a significant one for our future. And so I've been learning and trying to help and teach people about it. At least have a conversation anyway. And I'm just forever drawn to folks like you, Mr. Man, and you, Simon, and all
Mhm.
these lovely people that are
Yeah.
joining us tonight. We thank you. And you're right that there's something about this community. Our spirit, we're drawn together like a magnet.
Mhm.
To
Yep.
others. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. And I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. And, it's definitely something wonderful having someone like yourself that is willing to take your time and energy to put this out for folks that may not have, you know, maybe not have the time to do it. And you're not making people feel stupid. And I appreciate that. So that's my story. Do you
That's an
think
excellent story. That's honestly
Just-
a really good story.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I think most of it.
Want to read that, Simon?
Yeah, for me it was being laughed at twice. Then 3 to 5 months later, we got into it. Got in early 2021, so not the top. Very happy to be a part of the fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, well
Nice.
said, XRP slave. Yeah, we've all experienced the top. I experienced a top 2017, 2018, right? But at the time I had um, I doubled my money essentially by October of 2017, right? October.
Wow.
And I got out and I was like, I'm gonna wait, right? I followed my plan. I did everything that I learned about trading, right, or investing, or what people were saying. If you double your money, right, you need to get out and just take a break, right? I was like, okay, it wasn't crypto related. It was just that's investing, right? Get your money out. So I was like, cool, I'll pull it out and I'll wait. Well, I pulled it out. It went up. Litecoin was like $60, and then it went up to $363 by. Yeah, I know.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness! So, but I held strong. Then I held strong until about $200, and I was like, oh, it had to have gone down far enough. Yeah, I got the guilty emotions, right? Right, and then plus I caught onto the hype. Oh, and I went back in and we kept going down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught my first FOMO, right? Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's where I learned about what FOMO is and all that jazz. Ooh, dang it.
But it's smart. It's smart that you had a plan and you stuck with it. I feel that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have a hard time with that, with this bull cycle, because it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen and experienced before. Like there's been 3 other cycles prior to this. And if you guys thought those ones are huge, wait till the real world asset adoption and tokenization happens. It's going to be a coming to Jesus moment. I'm not a religious person by any means. I'm a spiritual person, but I understand the Bible, grew up as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian. This will be a coming to Jesus moment like nothing we've ever experienced before. And if you have a plan, stick to the plan, because eventually that there will be a top somewhere and it'll come back down.
Yeah.
And where it comes back down to, it's going to take out another low. So
can I
come back down.
ask you something, Mr. Man? And this is like, and first, before I ask my question, I want to ask you, we got about 20 minutes, and there's some questions in there. I wondered if you have time to answer some questions before you leave. And I see the bottom questions, but I just wanted to let everybody know, if you've asked a question a while ago and we didn't answer it, if you wouldn't mind to repost it in the chat. That way we can make sure we can answer that question for you. But my question, Mr. Man, is when I'm always like, don't want to sell, right? It took me a while to get my bags. I'm not a rich person by any means, and I some people that have these huge bags are probably just like, oh, that's nothing. But to me, it's everything, right? You can have 500 coins and that's your bag that you worked really hard to get, right? And so we talk about we're coming up on this bull run that's going to be crazy, and we know because we've seen it go up and then it's going to go back down. I get really nervous sometimes when I think about selling them and then not being able to buy them back. And so there's a lot of talk about that in regards to, I mean, even now with Bitcoin, but with XRP and some of these other coins that once they start putting them into what they're supposed to be used for, right, and really being used for that it's going to be more and more difficult for the retail market to purchase them. So even like they're talking like Choke Point 3.0 with the on and off ramps and the way that we're allowed to buy them, and all these things, I get a little bit worried about selling them, and then I think to myself, in the long run, unless it's going to really change my life significantly, is it worth it to me to take that risk for a monetary gain now that is probably not going to be anywhere near what it will be in the future?
That's
Where
a
do you
good question. And I personally have multiple bags. When I say multiple bags, I'll just use XRP as an example. Most people say Bitcoin. I'm not going to be that cliche stereotype. I'll use XRP as an
Oh,
example. I'll
boo.
have a Zenland wallet or a Zum wallet. I have my hardware wallet, air gapped hardware wallet. I have Decent wallet. I have Ledger wallet. And I have different XRP on all of these different wallets, and then I have XRP that I keep specifically. And those are my big bags, my lifetime bags. And I have them all open already pre-funded, because you have to have 10 XRP to even fund those things. I'd rather do that now while it's cheap than when it goes up. So if needed, as you're talking about, Choke Point 3.0, should that be a thing? It's starting to happen in Canada already. We've had to, or Uphold has purged, for instance, XDC, XLM, Filecoin, Casper, and they're not holding these things anymore. So I had to quickly decide what I was going to do, how I was going to move them, where I was going to move them to. Luckily, I have multiple wallets open, and I can move as quick as I need to move. So that being said, I keep a small amount on the exchanges purposefully, so that when the small bags I'm learning to trade with hits my targets and it goes up, I can sell. When it goes back down, I'll buy in and buy in more. And when I sell, I'm not selling and bringing it back to fiat cash again. I'm keeping it in the exchange as stable coin at that point now, because stable coins are what we're moving to. Why not learn to utilize that ecosystem as it is already? Stablecoin provides perks as well. If you want to remove it from the exchange, put it in a governance situation where you can now get some yield. Get yourself some yield at that point. Have your cryptocurrency stablecoin make you some money. Doesn't have to be a centralized player where they can control and say what you do, which is what happened with Celsius and was it three arrows, and they had fallen at that point, had stolen all the crypto because you lost it and they had collapsed. Doesn't have to be a centralized entity. I had learned about algo governance through one of my buddies, and that's legitimately on the algo ledger itself, and you're staking it on the ledger, or not staking it, but it's an algo governance, and now they're offering a yield to you for that. And this is just a small bag I have as well. I had kept on the exchange, not doing anything. So I figured, okay, let me go and learn about this. So now, should anything ever change with that governance situation they have there, I'm already grandfathered in, if you will, if they decide to lock people out.
Right.
Can I you touched on something that I have asked people about in the past, and nobody seems to talk about it, and I'm so glad that you said it. So for those of you that don't know, when you open up an XRP wallet, they require you to hold 10 XRP within that wallet that you're not going to be able to withdraw. Okay, you're not going to be able to drain your wallet of all of it. There's going to be 10 on there, and so Mr. Man makes a very good point. If you're wanting to spread your bags out among several wallets to not have it all in one place, it's better to do it now while things are cheap. Okay, while it's cheaper, 10 tokens at 50, 60 cents is nothing compared to what they could potentially be worth in the future. Now, my question lies, because I've heard other people say, well, they can always vote and change the amount that they require in the future and yada, 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 that sort of thing. But doesn't that, in my mind, I'm thinking, by having all of these wallets that have 10 in them, and potentially they're going to be worth a lot, that kind of adds to the decentralized network effect, right? I mean, it like by design, right now, as they're being sprinkled all over the place, it's very cheap, but they're holding 10. But in the future, there could be lots of money just like stabilizing the network everywhere. Am I right? And what I'm curious on what you think about that, because you're one of the only people that actually is keyed in on that. And so I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, no, I believe what you're saying makes a lot of sense because again, should the price appreciation happen as we in the XRP community foresee, we now have I don't want to call it a nostro vostro, but it essentially is a nostro vostro, but for individual holders who now have that in their own individual wallets. So banks don't necessarily have to hold it unless they have their own XRP wallet opened, then it's essentially a nostro vostro because it's locked in there. So when the price appreciates, you now have that stable value being created there. Whether XRP is utilized or not, that value is stable because you have that locked up individual entity nostro vostro account. It's not, and it can be used for cross border or whatever. Essentially, I don't want to call it a liquidity pool. I don't know if you can tap into that or not.
But it kind of is, right?
Essentially, yeah, essentially.
Well, okay, so if they, in my mind, just to spin out that, if Melissa, you said that they could want more in there, right? More XRP in there over time, right? You said something along those lines.
No, what I was saying was I was somebody else that I had asked that question. They said they could vote to reduce the required 10 to a lesser amount. So like right now they require 10 and somebody was saying, yeah, but in the future they could make it go to 1 or 0 or whatever. I don't think they're going to do that though. I'm curious. Sorry. That's what.
No, that it's an interesting question because I mean, yes, I mean they could, right? They could theoretically, but I mean that's a lot of changes. You know, that's a lot of changes. You got a lot of, yeah, exactly. Why would they? You know, why would they? You know, because now here's what you're putting at risk, right? And we're governance token. I do have a question that I would like to highlight. Bubba Smith, I got him on lock here. Just a second. That is the governance, right? For some of you out there, you might be familiar with DAOs. Other people might not, but there is a governing aspect, and there is a way to monopolize that governance. So voting rights, right? So if they allot that that function to, right, the governance and voting, then it would be the same game again that we currently have right now. All the top shelf buddies align with each other, vote to go this way, and you know we're in the same kind of muckery. So I think honestly, they wouldn't, because we're trying to get away from that. And by all appearances, as of now, through you know, researchers like you, Melissa, and Mr. Man, the evidence shows it's like no, we're not doing that anymore. You know, we're being honest in our words. So I mean, it could, yes, but you know what? If that has a technical key function like decentralization on the ledger, right? Here's all the activity plus, hey, that's stable. How many are out there. It's stable, right? That is the balance, so to speak. Then yes, they wouldn't mess with that because that's too much of a risk.
This is the thing. I mean, and I'm a simple mind when it comes to stuff. I'm not a technologist. I don't know, but it just my common sense, and I could be completely wrong, but my common sense says, why do you require this 10? And then like for what it costs now, it's nothing. But imagine all of these wallets that are all over the place, kind of like Bitcoin. When Bitcoin first started, how many wallets of coins and things that are just missing and you know they're gone? That added to the scarcity of Bitcoin. Well,
essentially it's a burn.
Yeah. And so what now, but if I think about little mini bags everywhere of 10, and then the potential for what it could be worth in the future, but you can't touch it. That's kind of like being an early participant in this, right? It's also going to stop people in the future as the price goes up from even getting a bag that they own themselves, because the more expensive it gets, if you can only afford to buy 10 in the first place and then know you can't even move it off of there, you're not going to buy 10, right? I mean, you see what I'm saying? So I think there's more to it. And the fact that many people don't talk about it at all makes me think there's more to it, because it is something that people are fairly quiet about. So that's my That's the way my mind works.
And it's a beautiful line. Bubba Smith has a question. Don't know if you covered it already. What do you think will happen when Swift goes live with ISO payments this March? I'm assuming at the end of the month. Mr. Man, on your map, you didn't have that there, correct?
No, I don't have Swift going live here at the end of the month. We're talking January here, end of the month. I'm not too sure. I don't see it.
And end of March. It was end of March. Sorry,
End
but
of
yeah, go
March.
ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I don't. It all depends still, because yeah, they've adopted ISO and they can now use rich data, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're using a digital asset to move that value back and forth. They have the
Right.
option to move that value back and forth, but they can still use the traditional system at that point. There's nothing that states that they have to do it just because they've
Right.
adopted. They have till 2025 to actually implement the end thing. So they can implement it now and then just play around with it still in the background. Like they don't have to use
Right.
it. So in terms of
Yeah.
value, I can't see whatever digital assets are out there being capitalized on a massive scale by Swift yet, because I feel like that would be Swift that would be accelerating the deconstruction of Swift, if you will, right? For them
Right.
to be utilizing these digital assets outside of them capitalizing on
On the asset itself, the transaction.
yeah, because they make most of their money from everything, every company, every entity, every bank having to go through them for cross border. So the minute they start using the open banking at that point, they're going against what their mandate is essentially, which is to monopolize the world.
Yeah.
So I don't see
Yeah.
necessarily see Swift doing that based off of those reasons.
No. I think it's more of the you know what they're doing here. They're doing exactly what the show is all about. They're dipping their toe into crypto. That's what they're
Mhm.
doing. They're like, hey, we'll agree to this, and we're gonna see how we can implement it within our underneath our house, right? I think that's spot on. In your roadmap, you in this earlier discussion, you talked about, hey, there, your video you did, your last video, you talked about the leg, the EU leg. It's like, no, they're just sticking one foot in. Why? It's like,
Mhm.
hey, it's like, I mean, okay, we'll give it a shot.
Mhm.
And we'll see how it goes. But that's all we're saying. We're not going to commit to anything other than we're willing to give it a try. Yeah.
Well said. I like
Let's
that.
see.
I like that. Do you
Yeah.
have anything to add to that, Melissa?
No, I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I think
No.
I did see there was an interview with somebody that worked for Swift. And it was with I think it was him and Brad Garlinghouse or something. It's from a couple of years ago. But it led me to believe that they know they're kind of going out. You know what I mean? So, and he seemed to be this guy. I can't even remember what his name is right now. I could picture his face. Um,
Nick, is it Nick? Nick Carrigan, I
yeah,
think is
yes,
okay.
yeah, yeah. There. Do you know which one I'm talking about? It's an old interview from a couple of years ago, and he was talking about just the future, and it seemed like he kind of realized or was rooting for Ripple almost, like going in that different direction. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but and obviously they're going to fight tooth and nail. But
Yeah.
I think they've really look. I think the powers that be, if you're watching the World Economic Forum in Davos, I watched some of that today. The the tone is changing.
Hmm.
Okay. They're still putting out those videos with the scare tactics, and there's all the influencers on social media that are picking out little parts and the doom and gloom and all of this, but it's a little bit different. But I was actually watching something today, and I posted it on Twitter where they were giving a survey to folks that were actually there at the conference, asking them, did they trust um, the current financial economy or whatever. And it was quite a significant amount of folks that said no. And these are people that are there participating in Davos, right? That they've got money. Yeah, what was it? Folks attending the WEF conference don't trust our current existing economic system, and they were flashing it like right when the I rather don't trust went up to 26%. I rather don't trust was 26%. I don't trust was 11%. The I rather trust was 46. So that's pretty darn high for folks that are attending a place that's going to, retain control over the world economic system, right? And so I think that they know that they are not going to maintain, and so they are working together. And I think, like I always say, the two systems are going to get married together. But I do think that there is going to be a bright outcome on the other side, and I pray that I'm correct. So that was a long. You had to ask me what my thoughts were. Dang it!
All right.
See
Did we
here.
have another
I think I got one more here. We'll just throw it up there. What are the ways to interact with technology and dApps that they build and learn how to use them? Algo, HBAR, XCC, XLM, XRP, or XRP, XLM Quant. Are you talking from it sounds like you're speaking from a individualistic point of view. So, I am not currently familiar except for XLM. XLM's got some gaming apps within their system. Kind of interesting. You can earn XLM if you play them. So I thought that was actually kind of cool if you're on an airplane or not while you're at the airport waiting. But I'm not familiar with any dApps that you can learn how to use these type of coins or networks. And I think that's what's being asked. Anybody else thoughts on that?
One of the whoa, something has happened here. I guess the light turned off in the back. One of them I had seen was called Shareables, and that was put out by the BIS and MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore. And that was essentially they had tokenized green bonds. And on this app, literally you could download it from the App Store, whether you were Android or iPhone. You can probably still download it now. And in there you can purchase like real estate and some of the government bonds that they had, the green bonds. And these are live already. But it's such a small ecosystem that not many people know about it. Like I believe there was 2 real estate that was on there, and maybe 3 different bonds that you could choose from, and that's all it was. And by the time I caught wind of it, everything was already sold out. But then they updated the app itself, and I believe they've added 1 other real estate since then, and that's it. Aside from that, I haven't checked out any of the other apps. I'm trying to hold clear of those until regulations come. That's my main game. I don't want to do anything to screw this up, as Raoul Paul says. Don't screw this up.
Yes, I saw that.
until regulations hit, I'm not screwing around with anything.
Yeah,
I
don't screw it
have
up.
no reason to trust any entities yet until I have reason to trust them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
We want to
Going
go
through
forward, not backward, right?
Yeah. And essentially, like you said, Melissa, with the theme of the World Economic Forum at Davos this year is all about trust, rebuilding and reestablishing trust and confidence back into, I'm not going to say the banking industry, but the financial industry as a whole.
Yep. Yes, because they know what that they're losing, that they've lost grasp of over the stronghold over the public opinion. And their system only works if people buy into it, right? There's too many people questioning, there's too many people researching what is money, what is the deal with the, the economy, in the way that they've been able to manipulate us and talk about it on the news, and we just accept it. And so they realize that it's not the same old now. As Donald Trump said when he got elected, this is not another 4-year election. It's not. It hasn't been. That
Mhm.
the turning point of that in the entire world and all of the things that have gone on over the past several years is an indication to me that we are heading in a different direction. And the most important thing is that we all stay aware and we all continue to fight. And the way we fight is by educating ourselves and lifting our brothers and sisters up and helping them come about. And so that we're stronger, so that we won't be bamboozled again, and we won't allow them to take it in a different direction, because we're right here. You laid out the roadmap of what they're planning and what they're doing and what they're working on. We're the end users of that, right? So the more informed that we are about what we're going into, the better that we can protect ourselves and make educated decisions. Um, if that makes sense.
Well said. I think that's an excellent note to wrap up on as well.
I do.
Yeah, I was just gonna say final thoughts, Mr. Man.
Final thoughts. All I can say, I want to reiterate what Raul Paul says. We have one opportunity, and this is our one opportunity. You have an exit strategy. If you don't have an exit strategy, create an exit strategy. And by exit strategy, I don't mean you completely eliminate all your bags. Create a strategy where you maybe sell off 20%. This is just hypotheticals. 20%, keep 80% as a forever bag, but always take profit. That way you can take that money or that cash you've earned and put it into another asset generating or another generating asset at that point. Myself, I choose real estate because I like the Airbnb operations. I get that daily cash return. If I have long-term rentals, I get that monthly cash return. And because I implement a strategy called the BRRRR, buy, renovate, refinance, resell, I increase the value of that property again, and then I can sell that property as well. So that one real estate property creates me 3 forms of income, and that can be purchased just from the crypto that I intend to or sell off and make some money from. Then I can continue on with my life and create that generational wealth. So create a plan and stick to the plan.
Love it.
Amen. And with that, speaking of another vehicle, join us next week where we talk about a possible another vehicle that one could take their crypto profits year over year and throw it into a whole life insurance policy. Next week, we're going to talk about the infinite banking concept at the street level. So join us next week for that. Mr. Man, thank you so very much for giving us your time today. Greatly appreciate it, dude. Go follow him. Go follow him on Mr. Man on X, and as well as Mr. Man Crypto Talk on YouTube. Go check him out. The man is absolute fire. But I do want to meet your counterpart, Tisha. I want to see what's good. See if we can get her on the show at some point too. That'd be cool.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Thank you guys all for coming to the Dip a Toe Show. We really appreciate the support. And if you would hit the like and subscribe button on the way out, we would certainly appreciate it. And we will see you again next week. Same show, same time, same day. Thank you.
Copy that.
Have a good night, guys.
To you.
Peace.